People will watch the wrestling match, and there will be a decided victor and loser, and then everyone gets to throw a tomato at the loser.
You're listening to the Good for Business podcast, where we feature interviews, tips, and tricks from owners, operators, and innovators throughout Mississippi and around the world. And now, your host, Colin Krieger. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of the Good for Business podcast. I'm Colin Krieger, and my guest this week is Wesley Stewart, organizer of Festival of the Fae and many, many other awesome things here in Columbus. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Colin, for having me.
Good deal. Tell me your origin story. How do you end up in Columbus, Mississippi doing a Festival of the Fae here?
Honestly, none of the origin story kind of leads me to this point. I grew up in a mix of California, Texas, and Florida before I joined the military and, spent over 10 years in the Navy, saw the world, ended up in Georgia, got out of the military. And I had always wanted a big piece of land, and, I'd been married for 15 years at this point, ended up getting divorced. She was never, the kind who wanted to chase that dream. So I saw an opportunity, started canvassing for land, got a amazing deal out here. I had never lived in Mississippi before, no family out here or anything. And I just shot from the hip to start a new chapter. Ended out here summer of last year, started making some friends, found out that festivals and street markets are huge here. But me personally, I've always loved things like Comic-Cons and Renaissance fairs, and any reason to dress up and have fun is a good reason. And there wasn't one around here. And I started talking to some people. I found some artisan crafters and things like that who didn't really have a market for their niche oddities, and I had the land to host it. So I was like, you know what? Shooting from the hip's working good so far. Yeah. So did it again. We had our spring festival the day before Mother's Day earlier this year, and that was pretty much 4 months from concept to execution. And I've been flying by the seat of my pants since then.
Well, that's a common theme in our thing. We talked to Ryan Munson here yesterday, which is the Munson and Brothers Beer Garden and Pizza and Beard Wax Emporium, of being unreasonable and not letting other people get in your way. We're trying to do something now at Lee Park here in town, and the one rule I had is no committees till we get started working, because otherwise we can have 20 meetings. So I'm glad to hear you just came out of the gates like that. So explain what the Festival of the Fae was last year and where your property is, that sort of thing. Walk us through what that day was like.
So it wasn't last year. It was
earlier this year,
this spring. And realistically, because we had such little lead up time, the spring festival was a Renaissance themed street market. But that was enough to get people's attention and get our hooks in, and we've been growing ever since then. The property I own is right up Military Road to Black Creek. I've got 31 acres that's, sectioned off by Black Creek and Luxapalila Creek, so very private peninsula back there.
It used to be like a Baptist retreat or something like that, wasn't it?
I've heard a few different stories. If anyone's historically from the area, it's the old Cole property, Walt and Dot Cole, and apparently they were very influential in some local churches and had this big piece of property back there that they would host like family reunions and church retreats and stuff like that. So it's a beautiful piece of property. And like I said, it's this whole private little peninsula. But since our spring market that was a Renaissance themed, since then we've fully leaned into it. This coming October, I'm having medieval themed wrestling. I've got an SCA group that's supposed to be coming out and doing armor and weapon exhibitions for everybody. I've got belly dancers and fire dancers, axe throwing, turkey legs, costume contest, seek and find quest for the kids, all sorts of stuff. And as we grow and move on, we're looking at building semi-permanent infrastructure and an actual little Renaissance town out there so people can fully dive into it. We'll never be on par with some of the bigger 300 plus acre $1 million Renaissance fairs, but doesn't mean we can't try.
Well, you had thousands of people at your last event, correct?
Over 3,000 people turned out the day before Mother's Day in the rain.
Yeah, pouring rain.
All day.
And of course, we're going to give shout out again, turkey leg guys, to our friends at, is it Bodybuilders or Crossroads Ministries?
Crossroads Ministries.
Yeah, Dustin and Dusty, all those guys. They do a lot of construction work for me on their construction side.
Good.
But I like the story. You said they were the only vendor that showed up.
Yeah, everyone else bowed out because of the rain, and it was our first event. So they were like, okay, it's raining. It's the day before Mother's Day. New event. There's not going to be any reason for us to go out there. I had 3,000 people show up, and everybody got hungry, and the Crossroads Ministries were the only ones to show up. And, thankfully to them, everybody got fed and had a great time. They had a great time. And because of that, I consider us thick as thieves, and I will never have another turkey leg vendor. All right. That is their spot for as long as they want it. They saved my rear in the first event.
Well, they helped me volunteer and sending their guys out to volunteer for a lot of events and stuff. So I hope that turns into some biblical narrative for them where they took 2 turkey legs and fed the masses the day before Mother's Day one time. So
yeah.
What's your background as far as work goes? I don't know if any of it led to this, but just in general, movie business, I heard. Is that correct?
So I've dabbled in the film industry a little bit. My oldest brother, who's no longer with me, was a music video and independent filmmaker in Austin, Texas. So I've always had an interest in it, but being military and a background in IT and before the military I was a mechanic, I myself never had a way in unless I was tagging along with my older brother.
Yeah.
But when I landed in Georgia, and I was in Georgia for 8 years, 4 of which I was still in the military, that last 4 I had a lot more free time. And being right down the road from Atlanta and making some contacts and things like that, I actually ended up getting to be the extra in a few films. Some of them never got released. Some of them did. I met some very famous people, got to spend some time on Tyler Perry Studios, which is beautiful. Yeah. If you've never had a chance if they offer tours, do it. But yeah. I'm not sure if I can plug the movie that I was in or anything.
Yeah, anything you want.
But yeah, I was an extra in Red Notice.
Okay.
Got to meet Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. Very cool bunch of guys. But like I said, any reason is a good reason to dress up. And that was just another reason. All right, I have kids, but I'm essentially just a big kid myself. Yeah. I have my nerd collection. I love to go to Comic-Cons. We've got a whole costume closet. And that's the thing, is that people need to have more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got involved with the Golden Triangle Theater here in the last couple of years. So went from out of nowhere to performing live on stage and stuff. And I was a title sponsor for the first Comic-Con we had here. And I remember them being very confused when a realtor wanted to sponsor it. And I said, well, my brother's involved in it and I love it. And as we talked about at lunch a couple of weeks ago, that was the most valuable sponsorship I ever did. Because even though I like baseball cards when I was a kid, but like, I'm not into all that stuff. And I like something, I appreciate it and like going to stuff. But because I was supporting my brother, I met so many parents, a lot of them either very involved parents or a lot of involved engineering type parents or math teacher type who really passionate about their kids. And they just appreciated somebody supporting the kids. It's sort of like supporting robotics teams and other stuff. And much like the theater, and we're talking about Renaissance Fair or the comic book stores or stuff, there's overlapping communities of nerds in there. And I believe that one of the most important things social media has done in the last 20 years.
Nerds, said lovingly. I am one.
Yeah, making people realize how big of a subset it is. You know what I mean? That you're not alone as opposed to like when I was in school 30 years ago, nobody thought, you thought there was 1% of the population that liked comic books and cartoons and anime. And the bigger that group gets where you're like, okay, I'm not going to push it and say Star Wars and Star Trek people should interact. That's a little odd. But somewhere between, comic books and Pokemon and Renaissance, there's overlaying sectors and overlaying communities that get together and support each other. And it's not 1% of the population.
No, it's not.
It's probably 30 or 40% that at least respect it and have some interest in it. And when you have more of the tech millionaires and billionaires becoming popular, then that obviously coincides with it.
And see, that's the thing is that, 15, 20, 30 years ago, um, it was less okay to be a nerd. Now, everyone's accepted and it can be a lot more mainstream.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your background is or anything like that. You can like what you like. You can find your niche special interest. And honestly, when you're talking about being sponsors and stuff like that, when people see others supporting their special interest, oh, there is so much brand loyalty. Um, you support me, I will support you. And that runs deep. It really does.
Yes. And so the fair overall, I know the first one, it's not necessarily run to make a fortune. You're just trying to be a self-sustaining organization. I guess it's a business, right?
Yeah, we just recently formed an LLC, and I say we because I am the founder and owner, but I do have a council of volunteers who help me organize and do things that I'm less adept at. But I recently formed an LLC, and on just a business approach, the first year in business, you're doing your best to not be in the negative.
Yeah.
Um, I've actually managed to spend this first year pretty much breaking even, thanks to an amazing team of volunteers. Always looking for more sponsors and things like that, though, because we have been coming out of pocket for some stuff on the personal side, which is why the business itself hasn't ended up in the negative. But from a business approach, I really spent this first year trying to get some brand recognition. So there's so many other markets and festivals and stuff like that in the area, but nothing my flavor. So this year I've kept vendor prices exceedingly low. The event has been free to attend. All right. So yeah, I'm not making any money off of it, but what I am doing is I'm getting a customer base off of it.
Yeah.
Now, the intention is next year to, grow and expand consistently instead of being single day events like we have been this spring and this fall. Next year, we're going to go to full weekend events. It's going to be a Saturday and a Sunday. With that, we're going to also have more entertainers and things to do interactive wise. So we are looking at going to a small admission fee next year. We're talking like $5, $10 per person per adult.
And since I've seen you and I've watched videos of other ones, I mean, I don't think there's anything under $30 out there to go see. There's some of them are, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying Lollapalooza level, but they're $100 passes to a lot of these events.
Yeah, there are, with the exception of the big ones like the Georgia Renaissance Fair, which is massive. And that's the one that I frequented when I lived in Georgia. $30 to $50 is pretty average for a regional Renaissance fair. But I'm just trying to make enough money where I can justify hiring the entertainers to come in and stuff like that, to give people something to do. This is by no means a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
I'm retired. This is something fun for me, keeps me active, and gives my community something to do. But no, I'll never have a Lamborghini parked outside my Renaissance fair.
Oh, well, you never know. I don't know if you can have a car show. You can have a wagon show.
No.
Talk about some of the events. Let's start. When is the event? Where is it? But then, of course, the thing I'm most fascinated about is your wrestling concept that you were thinking about doing.
So the event is October 11th from noon to 9 p.m. And I know that's late for a lot of the festivals and markets that go on around here. But we need to run it into the dark because fire dancers.
Yeah.
All right. It's going to be worth the wait for sunset. But it's at 43 Luxland Drive, which is my home address. So if people want to come out and, see like, okay, what's going on with the Renaissance Fair, which has happened, and they just see me on a mower, and they're going to be unimpressed.
Yeah.
Until I start getting the infrastructure built. Now, as far as the wrestling concept, I have a regional group of wrestlers coming out from Russellville, Alabama, and I've met with all of them and kind of given them this concept. And the regional wrestling is everyone trying to make a name for themselves, and I presented them with this alternative way to do it, you know, because standard regional wrestling is, you know, countrywide. That's a lot of market saturation, and you're trying to stand out. So all of these wrestlers are making medieval versions of their characters, you know, and it's going to be "Doth Mother know you weareth her drapes?" and then power bomb.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be doing gladiatorial announcements. So we're going to take these wrestlers who are in medieval versions of their characters and do recreations of famous battles and historical events and things like that. You know, we're going to have a Robin Hood versus the sheriff of Nottingham. All right, we're going to have a battle for Cleopatra's hand, and just there's going to be crowd work and interaction. And fun part, we're going to have a tomato and cabbage stand set up. So the way that the wrestlers are being supported is people will watch the wrestling match, and there will be a decided victor and loser, and then everyone gets to throw a tomato at the loser. All
Yeah.
right, and that's how we've set up for the
That's
wrestlers.
reasonable. That's a reasonable thing to sell.
There's going to be a pillory that I'm having built, so you know, someone loses bad enough, they end up in the stockade. Also can be used for photo ops or you know misbehaving children. Not sure if you've got a teenager at home that you
I have
need to.
3 teenagers at home that need to be in the stockades currently. So
I will try to get more stockades then.
there you go. And food wise, obviously the turkey legs from our friends. What do you think's coming this year?
Oh, we've got hot dogs and hamburger vendors, you know, for people with less adventurous appetites. We've got bakers coming out. We've got the turkey leg guys. We've got. I should have taken a look at my list.
That's okay.
I know we've got about 10 different food vendors, and I have someone whose whole purpose is a vendor liaison and preventing oversaturation of certain vendor types and you know repeats of too many foods. But we do have a pretty wide array of food that's going to be available.
Okay.
So
And are y'all going to have Cokes and beers and lemonade and stuff like that too?
no alcohol. We don't have a liquor license.
Okay.
I hopefully will have one by spring of next year because I have been working with a local meadery because what says Renaissance Fair more than mead?
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at getting a liquor license. The LLC was the first step to that.
Yeah.
You know, there's LLC, land lease, you know, city and state applications. But we're hoping to have the liquor license by then. So then, you know,
Nighttime would be a little more lively then.
nighttime would be a little bit more lively. I would still stay a kid-friendly event, you know. No, no drunken shenanigans.
Yeah.
So you won't be able to enjoy the bar wenches too much. So, but
Are there going to be animals or anything there so far?
Not as of yet.
Okay.
With the land that I own and everything like that, I personally am going to be getting some animals. But the idea of a little petting zoo, you know, docile animals has been brought up. It's just a matter of time, infrastructure, and manning. Like I
A
said,
few people have to watch them the whole time for
right.
10-hour festival.
And with the fact that this isn't a paid event yet, you know, I can't really hire out help. So anything like that I do, I have to be able to not only get the infrastructure built, but I have to be able to procure a volunteer.
Yeah.
So, but there are going to be things like that coming.
Okay. And so, like, if somebody's walking into the festival, I've got the wrestling in my mind, and maybe somebody walking around playing music or music playing over the speakers. Are there stage shows or any axe throwing, any other cool things I may not know about?
So you're going to walk into the event, all right, and there's going to be rows of vendors set up. There's going to be a pumpkin patch to your left. Just past that is where the belly dancers are going to be. Over to your right, you're going to see axe throwing. Then there's going to be a common area with some tables set up with all the food vendors set up so that you can actually watch the dancers. Rows of vendors going back to where the wrestling ring is going to be built. more food vendors back there so that people don't have to walk away if they're enjoying the show. But we've got things planned to really justify spending a long time out there. Like I said, the event's running from noon to 9. So, don't think that you're going to be able to come out there for 30 minutes to an hour and see everything that we have. There's going to be things to do all day long.
That's incredible. So vendor wise, what do people sell at vendors? Like, I mean, are they going to be selling broomsticks and pumpkins, or what are we looking at?
So we are going to have a pumpkin patch. We've got lots of artisan crafters. We've got leather workers, knife makers, sword sellers. You've got your standard crocheters. We've got some resin workers, wood carvers, all sorts of things. We're trying to find the niche vendors that you don't see at things like Main Street and all these parking lot festivals. Um, Really hoping that the chainmail worker that I've been talking to can come out, but that would involve some paid travel. So again, looking for sponsors.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean,
Uh,
the knives and swords seem interesting enough. So.
yeah, we've got to we're a little selective with our vendors. We try not to turn anyone away, but we do kind of prioritize the things that are on theme for us. Um, we're supposed to be having a vendor out there that is a costume seller. So if you don't have anything at home to wear to a Renaissance fair, you might be able to show up and get yourself a little something. Um, and we strongly recommend if you do have a costume, please wear it. There will be costume contests. There will be prizes. Um, yeah. And
If people are interested in sponsoring other than just giving you money, and we'll talk about the end how to get in touch with you, I suppose some of it would be, hey, do you want to sponsor, maybe not the sword booth, but sponsor the wrestling or have some other, like if they have a business locally that might work out there.
yeah, if there's a local business with the infrastructure that I'm building, I can always use building materials. If you are a company that provides a service, um, please reach out to me. Um, I I need porta potties, I need fencing, I need, heavyweight hemp rope. There's so many things that are rolling around in my head, so many things that I'm trying to inch forward. So if someone is interested or a company is interested in sponsoring, please reach out to me directly and we can work something out. Because what we're going to be doing is, if you've ever been to a Renaissance fair before, they've always got these shields that, like, kind of decorate the fence line,
Yeah.
right? All of our sponsors are going to have a dedicated shield at the front entryway of our event. And these are handmade 18 to 24-inch night heater shields that are going to be hand painted with logos and names and everything like that. At first, we were like, okay, we'll get some vinyl signs made for our sponsors and everything like that. And then that wasn't unique enough to us. So I have got a stack of handmade shields at my house just waiting to paint sponsor logos on, and they're going to be hung up all around the festival.
That's incredible. Maybe we'll get some. I think I told you I've got some wood you can come look at. But I know some wood people. I don't know if I know rope people, but I may hit up somebody at the port and see what they have laying around. But
Awesome.
is that for the wrestling ring mainly?
Yeah, the wrestling ring. I told the wrestlers, I was like, leave the wrestling ring at home. All right, it is functional, but it's heavy, it's kludgy, it takes up a lot of room. I'm building one. All right, I've gotten some recycled telephone poles that I'm using for the corners. I want like 3/4 to 1 inch hemp rope hung from it. Take a wrestling ring and put it in the 13th century.
Yeah.
Hay floor, everything like that. Because I'm trying to be period accurate-ish.
Yeah.
And see, that's one thing that separates us is a lot of Renaissance fairs try to be accurate. They're like, oh, that sword doesn't go with that outfit, and no, we're high fantasy. All right, make believe all day long. All right, we're gonna have security guards dressed as fairies and satyrs. All right, we're not 13th century England we're an unwritten Tolkien book. All
Okay.
right. We want the high fantasy. We are a high fantasy Comic Con essentially. So
Is there going to be any comics or that far on that end of it? You have a comic vendor or dice or any of that sort of stuff? Gaming?
we
I didn't know how far gaming is coming into it. I guess is
we
probably better.
will have like a lot of the the resin crafters make custom D&D sets and everything like that. And there is one guy who was interested in setting up a spot, not to vend or anything like that, but just to sit there and play one-shot D&D games with folks. So, if you want to spend some time, roll some dice,
Yeah,
all right, we'll have a spot set up for that.
that's pretty awesome. Um, so from the last event to this one, what do you think attendance wise is going to change? I'd
So,
imagine you're going to have a high revisit if the people can make it.
yes. Like I said, our last one, our head count was over 3,000. Um, I'm estimating five, maybe more. Uh, to the point that my biggest concern with this upcoming festival is parking.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. Yeah, and I guess they can park along Black Creek, and you get that sort of Lollapalooza vibe of we can park and
Yeah,
take over the area. And I think people in that neighborhood would be
yeah.
relatively open to it.
I've got a designated parking area, but there's the road that leads to my property. You can park along it. And the couple neighbors that I have are very flexible and understanding with what I'm doing because they think it's really cool as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there, if you want to come out, we will find room for you. All right.
So the event's going to be free. October, what dates?
October 11th.
Just 11th. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to move towards something bigger in the future, though, right?
Yes. Next year, it's 2-day events. The dates have already been selected, but we've decided on a really fun way to announce it. All right. There's going to be a seek and find quest for the kids, little hidden emblems all over the festival grounds that the kids have got clues to. And then once they find them all, they've got to decode it. And that announces the dates for next year.
That's awesome.
So if you want the early in, get a quest sheet.
Go to a quest sheet. So last time we talked, it seems like this was far away, like building fences and wrestling rings and all this other stuff. And now you're what, 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away?
Yeah.
It's getting real?
It is getting very real. The anxiety is getting real. There's so much to do. I am constantly on the phone with somebody or breaking a sweat getting this thing ready. But it is absolutely a labor of love. All right. And every time that my back hurts or my feet hurt, I just remember how much fun everyone had at the first one. And it kind of reinvigorates me.
How many people are on your team now?
I want to say there's 6 people on the council plus me. And they help out where they can, but like I said, honestly, they're doing the things that I'm not adept at.
Yeah.
Website development, social media managing, my vendor liaison. You wouldn't tell it from me doing this, but I'm actually not a talker, especially digitally. If my text runs over 5 words, it gives me an itch. So constantly doing emails and things like that, I just don't have the spoons for. I would much rather be out with a hammer and some nails, or cutting down a tree, or laying the groundwork for this thing.
I was hoping to see somebody with like an old school megaphone walking down Main Street barking out that the event is, ye all should come.
So we do have an announcer that's going to be working the front gate, and they are going to have not a powered megaphone, but almost like the cheerleader cone.
Yeah.
But it's gonna look period accurate. That's the town crier, and they're going to be announcing wrestling times and show times for the dancers and costume contests and things like that. And I hope they have a good set of lungs on them because they are going to be yelling at people all day.
Now you're gonna have dancers. Is there going to be live music? Are there people that play the music that you're going to be able to get?
Because we don't have a stage yet. It's been harder to get a music act, but we have talked to people who are interested in being minstrels or wandering bards. So just think, costume, acoustic instruments, just walking around playing music for folks.
That's awesome.
So there will be some musical entertainment, but it will be on the lighter end until we can get that stage built.
Well, moving into the future, I'm very familiar with your property, but you got the essentially 3 buildings, but one big long raised building, which is the house or houses, and
Yeah,
then
that's where we live.
Cabins or sheds behind it, right? Are those going to get fixed up eventually, or are they already fixed up?
Yeah, but back there where I actually physically live, that's kind of my private area for me and my folks and everything like that. The festival is going to be up at the very front of my property,
Okay.
and the property is very long. That's from my front door to the festival grounds, almost half a mile.
Yeah.
But right there, it's going to start at the top of the hill, and that's the festival grounds right now. And as we move into the future, it's going to build out into the lower field where I have already measured it, and we have more than enough room to host jousting. All right, hint, hint. And it's going to build out there. We're going to try to get an adjacent piece of property or expand the parking lot area through some leveling to increase the people that we can facilitate coming out without having to resort to street parking. But we're going to be building semi-permanent buildings up there.
I gotcha.
For our legacy vendors and things like that. Most folks are happy and functional with their pop canopies and everything. But once someone has become a regular vendor for us, we're going to give them the option of having a medieval looking storefront. So, yeah.
That'll be great. Well, let's say, if you've ever been to the Roast and Boast barbecue thing here, and it's come back a lot in recent years. It's coming up in October too. But it's a barbecue contest, but it was very public interactive 30 years ago, and then it got a little wild, and then now they've calmed it down. But everybody's got like shacks out there. So it's like the Neshoba County Fair or some racetracks where like the families, after they go long enough, are allowed to build their own little front. So, and I respect the keeping it away from your house thing. My wife and I have hosted at some points 5 events a year at her house that got up to 300, 400, 500 people, and now they have moved on. Like we're like, move along, because the people coming in your house was a little much. We tried to push them further away, but we live downtown, so
yeah,
I can understand that part of it. So right now let's talk about what's the best way people can help you. How can they get in touch with you or with my good friend Autumn? Can they just reach out to y'all, email, Facebook? What's the best way?
So we have a website, we have an Instagram. If you message the Facebook page, though, 6 people's phones go off. All right, and we will get back to you very quickly.
Me going to message them to this 2:00 this morning.
And people, we all monitor the Facebook, and realistically, nowadays that is the quickest way to interact with your clientele. But if you're interested in talking with me, you can message through the Facebook, and if you get someone other than me, they will either give you my direct contact information, or they'll just send me a personal message so I can jump in the chat. But yeah, it's really easy to get a hold of me.
Okay.
This is, like I said, I'm retired. This is pretty much all I do. All right.
So old wood, hemp rope, I assume canvas and hay and that sort of thing is.
Yeah.
If anybody just has it laying around, or the easiest way is usually if you run into somebody and say it out loud enough, then somebody's like, oh, like I did, my brother's interested in this, and I have a pile of wood, or my friend tears down fences and he has it. Like, you're looking for old tactile type things, right?
Yes. If you think that you could build a goat house out of it, I need it.
Okay.
All right.
It's a good definition.
Yeah.
Clearly focused goal there. So.
Yeah. But that's what we're using. We don't want anything that looks, new and shiny. We want hobbit holes, and we want converted haylofts for vendor spaces and things like that. The only thing that's really outside of that would be, as we build the area, I want to get some good fencing put around it so that, I don't have to worry about people coming in and out when it's off season, um, which will become less and less as we move forward because next year it's full weekend events. The year after that, it might be more events throughout the year. And eventually, it's going to be operated like a regular Renaissance fair where we have a time period in the spring and we have a time period in the fall so we can avoid triple digit weather.
Yeah.
But um,
You ever going to have weddings and stuff out there? I'm sure somebody's already going to ask.
that is actually something that I was already put on by a contact of mine who's a DJ who happened to do a Renaissance fair themed wedding a few years back. And they gave me the contact info for the wedding planner and organizer that did it. And as we get the space built, we will absolutely be holding and hosting special events like that. So just matter of time.
There you go. But I know you mentioned I'll have to pitch it to a couple of my friends I have 2 friends who own septic companies, and you need dumpsters too, I assume? Or?
Yeah, we could use a dumpster. I could use some porta potties, and that's just for facilitating the event.
Yeah.
We're trying to go, Renaissance, but not defecating in the street Renaissance.
Yeah, well, I have one old outhouse, but it's just one. You probably need 6 or 7 at least.
Minimum
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
We had 2 last time, and that seemed to be pretty sufficient. But then again, we had kind of a shortage of food, so that might have been a self-actualization there. This time, there's going to be plenty of food and drink, so minimum 4 porta potties. So if anybody wants to help us with that, we would love to put your information on a shield and display it.
I'm just throwing this out there to my friends at Night Septic, who I'm calling you out right now. Their logo is a shield.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and they're actually who I rented them from for our spring event.
So.
I just didn't know how they'd feel about being cold called by a stranger.
I'm not a stranger, but I'll bring it up to them. They've supported a ton of charitable events I've done and stuff like this, and that's why I said, like, it's an event, a charitable thing. Maybe they can do a deal on it, and they usually appreciate the exposure for that sort of stuff. And,
no, we'd be happy to have them,
and appreciate that as long as they show up with them, that there won't be any exposure that nobody wants to see.
Yeah.
At a Renaissance fair.
Yeah.
So, one more time, repeat how to get in touch with, where to look it up online, and the dates and times.
It's Festival of the Fae on Facebook, Instagram, and .com. It's October 11th, noon to 9 p.m. And you can reach out directly to me and my council members through the Facebook, and you will receive an almost immediate response. So that is the plug.
Well, I'm excited about it because I noticed, and my friends that own Zachary's and Munson Brothers noticed people in town for it last time. Mm-hmm. And I can imagine you're going to be drawn from such a much larger area. So it's a tourist event. I think it's going to end up being a major tourist event.
So that's actually the amazing thing, is that all of my vendors have got, dare I say, cult-like followings because they're so niche, right? However far my vendors come from, equal distance, their customers come. At our spring festival, I had people coming in from as far away as Arkansas and South Carolina. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, for our little old city, that's
right.
So awesome.
So hopefully, as I expand into multi-day events, local hotels are going to see an uptick in business for that, and it really will benefit the community.
Well, this is, some people don't understand this with Comic-Con and some Dragon Con and some of these niche operations, which to the public, to the unknowing public, they're like, oh, it's a Renaissance fair. The average spend is incredible for parents, especially adults. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a big crowd of 28 to 40-year-old people, and there's a big crowd in the 50 to 60, but there's the parents who go with their kids to these things. This is the treat. This is the thing. They want to support their children.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them are both doing it. And they're not eating at McDonald's. Like, they're going to restaurants, staying at decent hotels because they just love their kids. Like, Comic-Con spends are off the chart, you know? And so is Magic the Gathering, all those sort of things. The only ones that probably overshoot that is UFC wrestling people too. And
right.
My friends who are deep into that have financial problems. They're very excited that UFC got off of pay-per-view next year, but they're like, I have to watch it, and that's how regional wrestling people are,
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's the thing, is that every one of my vendors, after the event closed out, this past spring, I went around and talked to every one of them. I made sure that they had a good time. I asked them how I could improve in the future. I wanted to make sure that coming out and building with me was beneficial to them. Every one of my vendors made way more money than they were expecting. As a matter of fact, it was even said that they made more money with me at my event in the rain than they did at full weekend events in other locations, because people want this special interest so bad.
Yeah.
So,
well, I love that you're doing it. You're one of my unreasonable friends. I like when people come up with an idea and then don't let other people get in their way and have too many committee meetings and board meetings and stuff like that, where people come in the room and talk you out of perfectly reasonable childlike dreams of, I want to have this. I wanted to have a crawfish boil at my house with 400 people. I made it so. Ryan Munson and I wanted to have an Oktoberfest, and we just needed a charity, and now he's turned into a huge event that's at his place. Like, I like that, because you don't, if you talk to too many people, they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to pick the 15th largest market in Mississippi in the middle of nowhere and start a festival. And then you did it, and now I think it's going to be a raging success.
Yeah.
And I wish you the best for it. Y'all please support him. Find him on Facebook under Festival of the Fae, and watch for him on TV and everything else. We'll see what we can do to help you out.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Colin.
Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705, or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.